So now that we've been able to compile a Java program, let's take a look at the IDE that we're going to use for the rest of this course. You can go to eclipse.org and then go to Downloads. And then from here, you can download the Eclipse IDE for Java developers. And you can choose the 32-bit or 64-bit version. Just make sure that which version you choose corresponds to the version of the JDK that you had installed for Java. These have to match, otherwise it's not going to work. So once you've downloaded this, you're basically going to extract the contents to a folder. And you can see here that I've got my Eclipse under Tools, Eclipse. You don't have to actually run and install, you just can run the eclipse.exe right from here. So I'll go ahead and run this. And Eclipse is basically a free IDE. It is one of the older Java IDEs. It's completely open source, and there's just a lot of plugins for Eclipse. When I'm teaching someone Java or another programming language that can be done inside of Eclipse, I typically use Eclipse just because there's so many plugins for it. There's so many people who understand Eclipse. We're going to go over another popular IDE and talk about that a little bit called IntelliJ. Some people might argue that IntelliJ is better or Eclipse is better. It doesn't really matter because they're very similar and they can both do most of the common features that you would expect in a modern IDE. So whichever choice that you like, if you want to follow along for this course, I'd recommend using Eclipse, but you can use IntelliJ if you want. So let's take a look a little bit about the features of Eclipse here. And I've got a program here that I've loaded up just as a demonstration project here. And you can see that the way Eclipse is divided up here. You've got a lot of things going on in Eclipse. It can be a little bit confusing at first, but we're going to kind of learn this as we go and kind of stick to the basics here. On this left-hand side, you basically have what's called a package explorer, and I'm going to explain packages a little bit more later. But it basically allows you to navigate the source of your application. In the middle here, you've got your main code window, and this is where you can actually do your development. And Eclipse gives you full IntelliSense support, so you can hit dot, and then you can see what your options are on objects and methods. It really helps you to code. On the right, you have an outline. This is in the default Java view of the methods that exist, and you can jump to them. And then at the bottom, you have your console. This would be where the hello world would be displayed. And you have some tabs here for problems and things like that. The basic thing that you're going to do is work inside of the IDE here, inside of the text editor part, and then you're going to compile and run your application. And one interesting thing about Eclipse is that you don't actually have to continue to build your application. So with Eclipse, you'll notice that this run, you can just run right away. You don't see a compile option here because I have build automatically checked. And this is really nice because it's always ready to go. I can just click run. And we'll go ahead and create a new project in Eclipse so you can see how to do that. We just go to File, then we choose New, choose Java Project, then we give this a project name. We can call this Hello World. It automatically should pick up your JRE so that it knows what version of Java you're using. Here it's picked up 1.7. And then we can leave the defaults here and click Next. So you could add libraries here if we wanted to add additional libraries or other source files. I'll just go ahead and click Finish here. And now you can see I'll close this other project that we had. And you can see we have our Hello World project here, and it doesn't have anything in it. We can easily add a file to our project by going to New and then Class. And then we can create our class. We can create a Hello World class. And then from here we can create our method. And you can see as I'm typing here, if I type in SYS and hold down the control key and hit the space bar, it's going to give me some auto completion here. And so this is kind of useful when using Eclipse. You can just select System here, and when I hit dot, it's also giving me auto completion. And again, with the print line. I can always hold down Control and hit space. You'll get pretty used to doing that inside of Eclipse. So now I can choose print line and I can print hello world. So now we've created the same hello world program, but inside of Eclipse. And I'll save this and we can just run this. And now you can see it said hello world. So that's it. That's the very basics for Eclipse. It's a very nice IDE. It has a lot of features. There's a lot of things you can do with plugins. It allows you to debug within here. You can set debug points just by double clicking inside of the margin. And there's a lot of refactoring that you get for free inside here as well. And if you haven't programmed before or you haven't programmed in Java, don't worry, this might seem a little bit overwhelming, but I just want to kind of give you an overview of everything first, and then we're going to really get to the basics, back down to the basics, and go over everything and build up our knowledge of the language from there. So now let's take a look at IntelliJ.